There are times when I'm working with a couple or even an individual for that fact where one partner might turn to the other in a vulnerable moment and reach out and say something tender, something sensitive about themselves, maybe how they oftentimes get triggered and feel like they're not good enough or they don't measure up, or somehow when they hit that traumatic place inside that says, I'm unlovable. And when that happens and their partner's able to respond in such a caring and loving and empathic way, maybe they turn and look them in the eye and say, I always think you're enough. You're always enough for me. You always measure up. You're somebody so worthy of love. That's why I married you. When that happens, I often ask the individual, can you hear that? Can you take that in? Can you really internalize what your partner is saying about you, that you are somebody that is worthy of love, somebody that measures up? And sometimes I'll get a response of, no, I can't do that. I hear the words, but there's something inside of me that just doesn't believe that's true right now. And it's not always that they don't believe their partner. It's something that's coming up inside of them from years of experience of not feeling worthy, of not measuring up, that blocks their ability to take that in. And those are just normal moments in therapy that all that means is we need to work more on helping that person remove the blocks to be able to internalize what I call the good stuff, to be able to internalize the love, the care, the compassion, all the good stuff that helps build us up and makes us feel valuable and worthy. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to internalize the good stuff in our relationships. Welcome to Trauma-Free Relationship. I'm Tom Philp, your host. And as a therapist, I've spent over 10,000 hours helping couples work through their trauma so they can repair ruptures, heal their wounds, and communicate from a place of wholeness and connection. Let's get started. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning, this story about working with a couple, and one partner might be able to elicit some vulnerable emotions, and if the other partner is in a place where they're able to respond, and they're able to respond in a compassionate and caring way, and the difficulty it might be for the individual to be able to internalize, to take in those positive words and those positive feelings from their partner. This is not any different than if I'm sitting with an individual as well. Oftentimes I'll ask, can you feel me here with you? That you just did something really vulnerable and you really opened up, or you dropped down into some emotions besides anxiety and your protection, your defensiveness, and to some core emotions that often come up for you when you get triggered, when you feel re-traumatized. Can you feel me here with you in these moments? And oftentimes the response is, no, I can't feel you here. I feel all alone. And so what that means is the work begins to help that individual or to help that couple within, or the individual within the couple, be able to take in and internalize what exactly is going on for them, or what exactly is blocking their ability to internalize what I call the good stuff. And so what happens, how does trauma affect what we term our receptive capacities, our ability to be able to receive the love, the care, the nurturing, the empathy that we so long for and so need from others, and yet because of these traumatic experiences, in some ways it blocks that out. So how does trauma block that? Well, first of all, it impairs the trust, right? So trauma, especially relational trauma like abuse, neglect, inconsistent caregiving, that sort of thing, it often leads to a deep-seated mistrust of others. And so the way trauma impacts our ability to receive or take in the good stuff is it makes it difficult to believe the sincerity and the safety of others who are providing love and care. So because it impairs trust, it almost acts as a little bit of a shield for people because, they never quite got that growing up or maybe in their previous relationship or marriage. And as a result, they've got this little block up for them that blocks out any of the good stuff. They actually sort of exclude it from memory. They use their defenses in a way to block that out, only then honing in and focusing on more of the negative stuff. The times that it looks like they're going to be abandoned or the times that it looks like they're going to be rejected by their partner. Those are emphasized and taken in, and some of the good stuff is blocked out. Another way trauma affects our receptive capacities is avoidance of vulnerability, right? Love and care are inherently involved vulnerable emotions. And if our past experiences has taught us that vulnerability often leads to pain, then we tend to use defense mechanisms to avoid it, to block it out. That's really what our defenses are. There's really two types of defenses: against emotion or against closeness with others. And we learn that through our more traumatic relationships, that it's not safe to be vulnerable with others. And since we can really only truly connect through our vulnerability with others, then we limit ourselves by being able to take in the good stuff that others give us because we block out or avoid that vulnerability. Often, too, I think with trauma, how it affects our receptive capacities is it causes difficulty recognizing safety cues. Trauma can desensitize us to feeling safe. And so the nervous system perceives threats even in safe situations, right? It can make the traumatized person can have difficulty recognizing a safe situation from an unsafe situation. And often, because of the way their central nervous system is wired due to their trauma, they overlay an unsafe situation on something that actually may be safe. And so they can sometimes not recognize the safety cues that their partner is sending them. And that, of course, can block out their ability to take in the good stuff as well. Emotional numbness and dysregulation certainly can prohibit people from being able to take in love and care and nurturance. As a coping mechanism, trauma survivors can develop emotional numbness that can make it hard to feel warmth and comfort of love and care. It also is just sometimes outside of their experience. And so it's uncomfortable. I've had people tell me, no, I can't feel you here with me. And if I did, I don't know that I could let it in anyway because it's so foreign. It's so uncomfortable. It's weird. I'm not used to somebody making eye contact with me in these more vulnerable moments. I'm used to people turning and walking away or actually making the situation worse by humiliating me, mocking me, putting me down, shaming me in these more vulnerable moments. When those types of traumas happen, of course, that's going to cause the individual to block out the love and the care and not be able to read those cues from others as well. Negative self-perceptions are another way that trauma can prohibit us from being able to internalize love and care and the good stuff from others. Trauma can lead to feelings of worthlessness, as well as the belief that one doesn't deserve love and care. So not only is it a strange experience, foreign experience to the trauma survivor, but it's also just simply, I don't know that I'm deserving of this. That's where that sort of unworthiness comes in. So a negative self-perception or negative core belief about oneself can certainly block out that stuff. And then finally, just attachment issues, right? Early trauma can disrupt the development of secure attachment patterns, which can obviously lead to anxious or avoidant or disorganized styles of attachment in adulthood as well. These patterns can play out and repeat themselves in different relationships. And when that happens, oftentimes people can go from relationship to relationship to relationship, unable to sort of break free from that pattern that would allow them then to be able to internalize or to take in the good stuff, the love, the care, the nurturance, the compassion from others. So the question becomes, well, how do we learn to internalize? How do we build up our receptive capacities in order to be able to take in some of the love, the care, the nurturance from others, especially when we're struggling with trauma, especially when our defenses and anxieties block out our ability to be able to do that? Well, some of that is really just the reverse of what I've talked about before. So if you've had impaired trust, if you grew up not trusting others, then you need to be able to find a relationship where you can trust somebody else. You need to be able to lean into that during those times when you feel like you want to pull back, and instead you sort of, I don't want to say force yourself, but you lean into the uncomfortableness of trying to trust your partner. You don't avoid vulnerability. You learn how to be vulnerable. You learn how to pick up cues of safety and security in your relationship. You learn how to regulate your emotion. So kind of doing the opposite of these things that I just talked about, the things that trauma causes that prohibits our ability to internalize the good stuff. So we can learn to do the opposite of that. But I want to drill down on a few things in particular. So as I said, building trust and safety. So creating a sense of safety both internally and externally is paramount. One of the saddest things I think happen when I'm sitting with people sometimes is that I ask them, do you feel safe in your body? And usually when I have individuals or couples that have past trauma that's unresolved, that hasn't been worked on yet, their immediate response is no, I don't ever feel safe in my body. And that to me just pains my heart. I just hate to hear that. That to me is so sad, to think that people are walking around, which is absolutely true. People are walking around feeling so unsafe in their own bodies because of past trauma, because of attachment trauma, relational trauma. So first, being able to build a sense of safety and trust within yourself. Can you even trust your own feelings? Can you trust the way you read people and your own perceptions of others? Is a good place to start, to then allow yourself to be able to internalize the good stuff from others. And that also starts with developing self-compassion. Learning to treat yourself with kindness, understanding, and a sense of acceptance so that you can begin to heal those negative perceptions. If you think of yourself as unworthy of love, that negative core belief about yourself is going to drive your interactions whether you're aware of it or not. It's going to shape the things that you see in your interactions with others. It's going to cause you to miss cues of love and care and nurturance and acceptance from others, from your partner especially, because you are deriving from this core belief deep down. So being able to work on that core belief and treat yourself with more compassion, and being able to begin to look for the good stuff and let that in, the care, the love, the compassion, little things that your partner might do that lets you know that they're important to you, that you're important to them, little things that shows that that you are held in their mind consistently, whether that's just going in the kitchen and whether it's cooking something for you without even asking, making your favorite meal, or maybe, I thought about you today and I picked up your, favorite deodorant at the local supermarket or whatever it is. I noticed you were almost out. Something that sort of surprises your central nervous system like, oh my gosh, my partner is thinking of me. They kept me in mind without me having to cue them and send signals to them. So developing that sense of compassion and looking for those cues of love are really important. As I've mentioned probably 1,000 times before, mindfulness and grounding techniques are really important because they allow us to be able to emotionally regulate ourselves. So we really need to learn how to emotionally regulate ourselves, which means that if we're more of an avoidant style of attachment, we need to learn how to reach out and to co-regulate. Let somebody else help us in our emotion regulation. And if we're more of an anxious style of attachment, then that means we need to learn to be able to self-regulate more, not just depend on co-regulation from our partner. Those are two of sort of the developmental opportunities within the insecure attachment styles when we're talking about anxious or we're talking about more avoidant styles of attachment. Also, practicing vulnerability in safe contexts. Right? When you're feeling safe with your partner, do a check-in. Am I feeling a little more safe in my body? Am I feeling a little more safe in my partner? Can I let myself be more open and more vulnerable with my partner? And if so, what kind of feedback do I get? Or can I even let them know that I'm feeling safe with them, that I'm feeling like it's okay to be more open and vulnerable? Sometimes even being able to speak about what we're feeling internally with our partner in those moments can increase that sense of internalization, because our partner can go, oh, that's awesome. I love that you're feeling vulnerable right now, or I love that you're feeling so safe with me. That's great. And they can respond to that moment instead of trying to have to read your mind. And then, of course, finally, challenging those negative thoughts, as I said, identifying and challenging those negative core beliefs about yourself that stem from the trauma can help you shift those perspectives. Sometimes that's a matter of reaching out and getting professional help because it can be difficult to change those core beliefs. It can also be important to recognize when you have an experience that is different than that core belief, and being able to recognize that and to process that and take that in. As I mentioned before, your partner comes home, says, I was at the store today and I noticed you're out of, your favorite deodorant or something, or I got you your favorite juice for you. And, I put it in the refrigerator. Something as simple as that, being able to recognize, that is different than I'm used to. My partner was thinking of me when they were away, which means they hold me in their thoughts when they're not even with me. That means that I'm important to them. And even though it's just juice that they brought home, what that tells me and what that indicates is that I'm important to them. I'm worthy of love and care. I'm worthy of being held in their thoughts and feelings. And I'm that important to this person. And recognizing that is a different experience than those experiences that created trauma. And don't just bypass that. Don't just blow something like that off. Being able to really register that and go, okay, that is unique. That is different than the experiences I am used to having in a relationship and with my partner. And I'm going to make sure I remember that. I'm going to make sure I register that. So maybe you write that down in your journal. Maybe you jot that down in your phone and you sort of dwell on that for a few days. You read that and reread that for a few days, trying to really take that in. And if it feels uncomfortable to take it in at first, that's when your self-compassion can kick in and say, okay, it's all right for me not to be able to take this in immediately. It's okay for me to feel a little bit uncomfortable with this. That's just my trauma talking, and I know it. I know what's going on here, but I'm really going to try to internalize this so that I don't miss these little things and I learn to be able to receive and take in the love, the care, the nurturance that you are absolutely deserving of. All right, well, I hope this was helpful. I know it was a little bit of an ambiguous title, learning to take in the good stuff, But this is something that I see play out a lot in my couples and in my individuals I work with trauma, and I think is just as important as trying to overcome or work through the bad stuff as it is to try to be able to recognize and take in when good things happen as well. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I really appreciate it. And until then, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.